Have you ever stopped to think about the unseen tech that really powers our modern world? You know, those complex bits inside buildings or data centers, keeping everything running smoothly.
It's fascinating, isn't it, how these hidden components are so critical.
Exactly. Or how one company's story can kind of mirror massive shifts happening across an entire industry.
Right.
Well, today we're doing just that. Well, welcome to the deep dive. We're focusing on KRN Heat Exchanger and Refrigeration Ltd. We've gone through the recent Q1 FY26 earnings call, and our mission today is, well, to pull out the key insights.
Yeah, looking at their business segments, the industry outlook, what they're planning for the future.
And of course, the risks they're facing. Can't forget those.
Definitely not.
So by the end of this, you'll get a clear picture of how KRN is playing its cards in the fast-changing HVAC in our world. It's heating, ventilation, air conditioning, and refrigeration.
And we'll share some specific examples, maybe a few surprising details too.
Okay, let's kick things off with KRN's Q1 performance for fiscal year 26. The numbers look strong, suggesting, pretty healthy demand.
They do. Consolidated total income hit 118.86 crores.
Which is what, about 14 million US dollars? Roughly.
Roughly, yes. Driven by both domestic and particularly strong export demand.
And their operational profitability, EBITDA.
Came in at 17.59 crores. That's a margin of 15.26%. Pretty solid.
Okay, and net profit.
12.42 crores, so a 10.54% margin. Translates to an EPS earnings per share of 2 rupees.
All right, let's dig into what's driving this growth. Overall segment revenue was up 20.36% year-on-year.
That's right. Domestic revenue was up 17.27%, reaching 96.39 crores.
But the export figure really jumps out. 18.89 crores. That's a surge of, what, 39.04% year-on-year?
A huge jump, yeah.
So what's the bigger picture here? What does that kind of export growth really mean for KRN?
Well, it's not just a one-off good quarter. It really points to their strategy of expanding globally, getting a wider footprint.
So diversifying their markets.
Exactly. They're getting good traction in places like the UAE, Italy, Germany, Canada, France, key markets.
Right.
And this global push is crucial. It makes them less reliant on just the domestic market, taps into different economic cycles, builds resilience.
Makes sense. It shows they're not just reacting, they're building for the future. Which brings us to the new Nimarana facility. That seems like a major highlight.
Oh, absolutely. It started commercial operations end of May under their subsidiary HBC Product Private Limited.
And the strategy behind this new state-of-the-art plant.
It's a big step up in capacity for their heat exchangers and SBAC products. It's really designed to serve both domestic needs and, crucially, fuel that export growth we just talked about.
So how's the ramp up looking? It's not instant.
No, it's phased.
Wow.
Right now, they're focused on getting the quality management systems nailed down, handling customer visits for approvals about 1 or 2 a week, apparently, and training the workforce.
Oh, okay.
Actual production ramp-up is expected more from Q3 of this fiscal year. They're hoping for good numbers in Q3 and Q4.
And the targets. Utilization goals.
Ambitious. They're aiming for 25% capacity utilization this year, FY26, then 50% in FY27, and pushing for 80% by FY28.
Wow, 80%. That's significant.
It is. And the facility itself is huge, 600,000 square feet, built with exports clearly in mind.
And the goal is to get exports up to 50% of revenue from existing products.
Within 3 years, yeah. That's a big leap from the current 16.4%.
And export margins are generally a bit better.
Typically, yeah. Maybe 3 to 4% higher, though it varies.
Okay, so capacity is expanding, but they're also investing in innovation with this new Thermotech research laboratory. What makes this lab special?
This is really interesting. It's set to be the first lab in India approved by AHRI.
AHRI, the Air Conditioning, Heating, and Refrigeration Institute.
That's the one. Getting that certification is a big deal, a real stamp of global quality.
And the timeline. When will it be up and running?
Pretty quick, actually. The MOU is done. Equipment's arriving from China very soon. Installation takes maybe 2 months. So operational by September, early October, perhaps. They're aiming for full international certifications by year end.
And how does this fit into their IP strategy? Are they generating IP from the lab?
Not directly generating it from the lab, no. It's more about enabling them to file IP for their products.
Okay. So lab provides the proof.
Precisely. They can test new designs, new tube geometries, scientifically prove they're more efficient. That data lets them file patents or design registrations.
Giving them a competitive edge with unique, efficient products.
Exactly. It creates a sort of moat. Plus, they plan to partner with OEMs, their main customers, to co-develop new products.
And test them in-house.
Right. test them in their lab, show the energy or cost savings, and share those benefits. That makes them more of a partner than just a supplier. It's a strong value proposition.
Definitely sounds like a smart long-term move. And it fits nicely with those broader industry trends you hear about: infrastructure growth, sustainability focus, the shift to energy efficiency.
Yeah, the structural tailwinds, as they call them. It's a good environment for what they do.
You mentioned their model is 100% B2B with OEMs. What about the aftermarket? Often that's where the better margins are.
It's a good question. You'd think so, right? But KRN actually finds aftermarket margins on their existing core products to be, and I quote, very, very thin.
Really? That's surprising.
Yeah, so they generally steer clear of it for their main lines. They apparently only used aftermarket initially for some new product launches, like old bond condensers,
Right.
mostly to sort of bed in operations before shifting to the bigger OEM volumes.
Interesting distinction. So aftermarket isn't really their focus for core business.
Not significantly, no.
Okay, let's talk about the segments they are focused on. Data center cooling seems huge right now.
Oh, it's booming. You mentioned Google's massive investment in India, 50,000 crores.
Which is about $6 billion US.
Right. KRN thinks they can capture maybe 10% of the HVAC system value in projects like that. For Google alone, that could mean something like 1,000 crores, maybe $120 million just for heat exchangers.
Wow. Because every server needs cooling.
Exactly. And KRN's products are right in the sweet spot for that kind of high efficiency, high reliability cooling needed.
And then there's district cooling. Explain that a bit. It sounds like cooling is a utility.
Pretty much, yeah. Imagine cooling supplied to whole communities, thousands of homes metered like gas or electricity. It's a big picture concept.
So how does KRN fit in there?
Their strength is in the larger commercial scale heat exchangers. That gives them a huge advantage here. Unlike room ACs where their share is tiny, they believe they could potentially grab like 60 or 70% market share in this district cooling space as it develops.
Because their products go into the big chillers and air handlers.
Precisely. The core components of those large systems, water-cooled chillers, air handling units, fan coils, it plays right into their expertise.
And similar trends in central AC for big residential buildings.
Yeah, that's another growing area for their larger products. Plus, they're constantly adding customers, averaging 5 new products a day for existing clients, and onboarding about 2 entirely new customers every month.
Okay, so strong performance, big investments. But new ventures always have bumps in the road. What are the short-term impacts, especially from the Nimrana facility starting up? Costs, margins.
You're right, there are initial costs hitting the books. In Q1, Nimrana added about 1.25 crores in depreciation. Plus, interest costs on intercompany loans kicked in once production started.
And staffing.
Employee costs were around 1.5 crores. Then you've got raw materials used for testing and trials. Consumables like gas and power adds up.
So total impact.
Almost 4 crores in costs hitting Q1, which means, yes, Q2 margins will likely feel some pressure too, because the plant isn't generating much revenue yet compared to expenses.
And getting products out the door. You mentioned customer approvals.
Right, that's key. Even though production lines are running, they can't actually ship products from the new plant until customers sign off on that specific facility. That's why Nimrana's Q1 revenue was low, even though it was technically operational.
So a necessary delay for quality control.
Exactly. It takes time, especially aiming for global standards.
What about government support? The PLI and RIPS schemes.
Good news on the PLI front, that's the production-linked incentive. They've secured approval for white goods, with a sanctioned incentive of over 141 crores.
And that helps with
Backward integration mainly, bringing more of the supply chain in-house. The actual financial benefit from PLI is expected from FY27 onwards.
and RIPS, the regional scheme.
For that, they need an environmental clearance first, the consent to operate or CTO. They expect that very soon, like next week. Then applying takes 6-7 weeks, so the incentive should hopefully start flowing from Q3 this fiscal year.
Okay. Any concerns about U.S. tariffs? That's always a moving target.
They mentioned getting no negative feedback from their current U.S. customers. They don't expect a major impact, partly because they think alternative sources would still be more expensive for their customers, even with tariffs.
But they're watching it closely.
Oh, yes. They acknowledge it's dynamic. It's a bit of a wait and see.
Understood. And their order book. How far ahead do they see?
It's more of a rolling order book, typical for their OEM B2B model. They generally have open orders covering about 1 month out based on customer forecasts. They don't really do long-term project commitments.
Right, because their OEM clients give shorter-term forecasts.
Exactly.
So looking at financially, what's the guidance?
The main top-line ramp-up, especially from Nimorana, is expected from Q3 onwards. They're aiming for that 20–25% utilization from the new plant for the full FY26.
And margins.
Expected to improve from next year, FY27. That's when the PLI benefits, RIPS, and the higher share of export sales should really start to contribute more significantly.
Yeah, their debt situation.
That's a real strength. They're practically zero debt. Just a tiny term loan, maybe 2 crores, and standard working capital debt. It gives them huge flexibility.
Okay, so let's wrap this up. KRN seems to have a solid base. They're making smart, strategic bets on new capacity and R&D.
Yeah, and really positioning themselves well for these big industry shifts like data center cooling and district cooling.
It definitely shows they're thinking ahead, being proactive.
Absolutely. And for you listening, watching a company like KRN gives you this really interesting perspective on where infrastructure is heading, the push for energy efficiency, how global supply chains work.
It shows how these specialized, often unseen components are fundamental to so much else.
Exactly. Powering innovations we use daily without even thinking about it.
It really makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
How critical these invisible parts like heat exchangers are to the huge digital world we're building, the smart cities. And it prompts the question, what other hidden industries, what other specialized components are out there quietly getting ready to drive the next wave of transformation?